I've been a long-haul trucker for over 20 years. You see a lot of weird stuff on the road, lights in the sky, near misses, run-down gas stations in the middle of nowhere, but nothing ever got under my skin like what happened back in 2017, somewhere between Elko, Nevada, and the Utah border. It was a late November run, cold as hell. I was hauling a load of HVAC units headed east. I'd been on the road for 12 hours straight and was starting to get that blurry, dissociative feeling, like the lines on the road were moving, but nothing else was. So I pulled into a small rest stop, one of those isolated ones with just a couple parking spots, a dim street light, and a single disgusting bathroom that looked like it hadn't been cleaned since the 80s. There were no other trucks or cars when I pulled in, just sagebrush, dirt, and the distant sound of wind screaming through the basin. I parked, shut off the engine, and climbed into the sleeper to get a few hours. No one around, no traffic, seemed safe enough. I don't know what time it was when I woke up, but something had changed. You develop a sixth sense doing this job. You just know when something isn't right. At first, it was dead quiet. Then I noticed a faint tapping noise, like fingernails lightly drumming on metal. It wasn't loud, but it was persistent. I peeked out the side curtain. I couldn't see anyone. But when I leaned a little closer, I noticed smudge marks on the window. They were fresh, greasy fingerprints, like someone had been trying to look inside. I grabbed the tire thumper I keep next to my bunk and slowly opened the cab door. The cold hit me like a wall. I stepped out, and that's when I noticed it, bare footprints. In the frost, leading away from my truck, not shoe prints, bare feet. In 25-degree weather, I followed them with my flashlight. They led behind the restroom building, and then just stopped, like the person either vanished or got into a vehicle. Now here's where it gets messed up. When I got back in the cab, I went to start the engine, and it wouldn't turn over. I checked the dash, fuel level was fine, battery was good. Then I noticed something else. The CB mic was off the hook and laying on the floor. I hadn't used it in hours. My blood ran cold. Someone had been inside my cab. I locked the doors immediately and called the state police. Had to wait there in the dark, engine dead, for almost an hour. I had my thumper in one hand, my phone in the other, just staring into the dark desert, thinking about those footprints. Troopers finally showed up. They looked around but didn't find anything, at first. Then one of them called me over. In the trash can next to the restroom, they found something wrapped in a dirty hoodie, a knife, a small bottle of pills, and a Polaroid photo of a truck, my truck, taken from the rear. They guessed it was some transient or drifter living out there, maybe watching trucks from the hills and waiting until someone pulled in alone. The engine? When the trooper popped the hood, he found the starter wires had been cut. Clean, deliberate. Whoever did it wanted to make sure I couldn't leave. I don't park at remote stops anymore. Not after that. I keep a gun in the cab now, and I sleep light. You have to in this line of work. Because the scariest thing out here on the highway isn't ghosts or shadows. It's people. And some of them aren't looking to share the road. They're looking for a victim. This happened in 2014, somewhere on US Route 50, what they call the loneliest road in America. I was hauling auto parts from Sacramento to Denver, cutting through the dead heart of Nevada. Now this part of Route 50 is no joke. We're talking hundreds of miles with nothing but desert and mountain. No gas stations, no lights, no cell signal. I left Ely around 3 p.m., aiming to make it to Delta, Utah by nightfall. But a storm rolled in. One of those weird desert spring storms, sudden and violent. Visibility dropped fast, so I slowed down, flicked on the hazards, and kept crawling forward. That's when I saw him, a figure on the side of the road, just standing there. Looked like a man in jeans and a flannel shirt, backpack slung over one shoulder. No thumb out, no wave, just standing, half turned toward the road, staring. It spooked me, I won't lie. Who the hell is hitchhiking out here in a storm, 50 miles from the nearest anything? I kept driving. You don't stop for people in the middle of nowhere. That's just asking for trouble. But after a few miles, I started getting that gnawing guilt in my gut. What if he was stranded? Or in real trouble? I made myself a deal. If I saw him again, I'd stop. 15 minutes later, I did. Same flannel shirt, same backpack, same guy, just standing by the road again. I know how insane that sounds. There were no crossroads, no cars passed me. But there he was, like he'd somehow gotten ahead of me. This time he was facing the road full on, just staring at my truck as I passed. His face, I don't even know how to describe it. Expressionless, like he wasn't really seeing me. I didn't stop. I floored it, heart hammering in my chest, gripping the wheel until my knuckles went white. I just kept thinking, don't break down, don't break down. And then, I did. About 20 minutes later, the engine started knocking. Bad. I barely made it to a gravel turnout before it completely died. No lights, no power, nothing. I grabbed my flashlight, stepped out, and tried to flag down any sign of life, but it was dead quiet. No cars, no wind, just black desert and that weird, static silence you get before something bad happens. Then I heard footsteps on the gravel. Behind me, slow, deliberate, crunch, crunch, crunch. I turned with the flashlight and saw nothing, no one, but the footsteps kept going, circling the truck. I jumped back in the cab, locked the doors, and killed the lights. I sat there in the dark for 4 hours, clutching a crowbar, listening to something walk circles around the truck, stopping every once in a while, like it was waiting for me to come out. Just before dawn, a maintenance truck rolled by and saw my rig. They pulled over, gave me a jump, and I got the hell out of there. I never saw the hitchhiker again. But here's the part that keeps me up. A few days later, I was getting my truck serviced in Denver. A mechanic calls me out from the lounge, pale as a sheet. He says, "Hey, you know your passenger side door handle was ripped clean off?" I didn't. He showed me where it was torn, not broken. Like someone had grabbed it with both hands and yanked with inhuman strength. Scratches along the paint, dirty handprints, and a boot scuff on the door like someone had kicked it hard. So yeah. Don't stop for hitchhikers out there, especially not on Route 50. Some people out here, they're not trying to get somewhere, they're hunting. I've been a trucker going on 15 years now, mostly local routes these days, but back in 2016, I was running coast to coast. Nights blurred together, gas stations, diners, empty stretches of highway. But this one night in Oklahoma still makes my skin crawl. It was just past 2 a.m. when I pulled into a truck stop off I-40, one of those sketchy, half-lit joints with flickering neon and 2 showers for 20 guys. The kind of place you only stop when your eyelids feel like sandpaper. I parked around back where the trailers crowd in close, killed the engine, and hopped out to take a piss and grab a coffee. As I was heading toward the building, I spotted someone walking between the trucks. A woman. Mid-30s, jeans, heavy jacket, stringy blonde hair. She looked rough, real tired, real twitchy. I knew what she was. Lot lizard, trucker slang for prostitutes who work the truck stop circuit. I gave her a polite nod, but didn't make eye contact. Not my scene. She mumbled something, barely audible, and I kept walking. But I couldn't help notice she didn't go up to any other trucks. Just stood there, watching me. 15 minutes later, coffee in hand, I headed back toward my cab. She was gone, or so I thought. I climbed in, locked up, and went to start the truck. But before I could turn the key, something slammed into the back of the sleeper. Hard, like a body hitting metal. Then a knock. 3 knocks on the driver's side door. Sharp, measured. I didn't answer. Another knock, this time on the passenger side. I flicked on the cabin light. That same woman was standing outside my passenger window, head tilted like a curious dog. She motioned for me to roll it down. I shook my head no. She didn't move, just kept staring. I mouthed, "Go away." That's when she pulled something from her jacket. A box cutter. She pressed it against the glass and smiled. Not seductive, not playful, just wrong. Something in her eyes wasn't right, like she wasn't there. I grabbed my phone, dialing 911, but the screen froze. No service, of course. She started circling the truck, dragging the blade against the metal, making this awful screeching sound. I yelled through the glass that I was calling the cops, hoping it would scare her off. She stopped, smiled wider, then said something I'll never forget, clear as day through the window. "They don't come here." She meant the cops. And she was right, because 10 minutes later, after she finally wandered off into the darkness, I went inside the truck stop to report it. You know what the clerk said? "Oh, her? Yeah, she's been around. We've called the cops before. They don't bother coming out unless someone gets stabbed. I asked if anyone ever checked the trucks. He just shrugged. Buddy, if she didn't get you, someone else might. Needless to say, I left immediately. Didn't sleep the rest of the night. Now I only stop at truck stops with real lighting, security cameras, and working phones. I learned that lesson. Because here's the thing no one tells you when you start this job. Out there in the dark, parked alone for hours at a time, you're a sitting duck. And not every danger has fangs or claws. Sometimes it just has a box cutter and a dead stare.